Hi, my name is Anthony Romano, and I'm going to show you how I discovered a 100% natural, simple, and proven method to beating tinnitus. Just like that. I know you've been told before there's no cure for your tinnitus, that you have to rely on antidepressants and hearing aids for the rest of your life, that you ought to learn how to cope with your chronic tinnitus pain, and just get used to the tinnitus torture day in and day out. Well, I'm here to tell you that's all a big fat lie. You can have soothing tinnitus relief fast. After you see the mountain of evidence I have, which proves that tinnitus is easily beatable, you're going to be furious that nobody has ever told you the truth before. That's because inside this presentation, you'll see that conquering your tinnitus is as simple as following an easy one-step method, something that has been scientifically proven to undo years of chronic tinnitus within a matter of days. It worked for Dean Warren, a retired U.S. military veteran who was beaten, robbed, and left for dead. All because his horrible tinnitus stopped him from hearing a gang of thugs creeping up on him. Dean's tinnitus was so bad it affected his mood, energy, memory, and it even drove his family away from him. He was so depressed, he thought about ending his life every single day. And if it wasn't for this miraculous remedy that I'm sharing with you inside this presentation, Dean wouldn't be here. But instead, Dean is alive and thriving now, thanks to a solution that many have called a saving grace in their lives. Folks all over the nation who have used this remedy to put an end to their chronic tinnitus, like Amanda Gillespie from Silver Spring, Maryland. She says, "Thank you, Anthony, for this miracle healer. The ringing is gone, and it's gone for good." And Thomas Mitchum from Little Rock, Arkansas, he says, "Finally, the ringing is over. I can't tell you how miserable it was living with tinnitus, but thanks to you and your awesome method, I'm back to normal." People are thrilled to finally have a real answer to their tinnitus problems. This simple, natural method works like nothing you've used before. It has nothing to do with prescription pills, antidepressants, masking therapies, or expensive surgeries. You won't need to change your diet, start exercising, or join any silly support groups. And this isn't anything Big Pharma would want you to have. In fact, Big Pharma and Big Government absolutely hate that this presentation exists, especially since the tinnitus beating solution I'm about to share gets to the root cause of all your tinnitus problems, which doesn't have anything to do with your ears, but instead with your brain. More on that in a moment. Plus, this remedy also is 100% all natural with no side effects. It begins working fast to heal your tinnitus. In considering that nothing that Big Pharma makes even comes close to the method I have to share with you, they're worried that if enough people find out about this solution, they won't have a leg to stand on in the billion-dollar tinnitus industry, which means it's only a matter of time before they do something to take this presentation off the web and rob you of your golden opportunity to rid yourself of tinnitus forever. So it's important we don't waste any time. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you this tinnitus relief method. I'm going to share why it works, how it works, and what you can start doing today to relieve yourself of the agonizing pain and frustration from your relentless tinnitus, right in the comfort of your own home. The secret, life-changing technique comes from a small Inuit tribe in northern Alaska, a group of people I would have never known about if they didn't save my life after I nearly died in a plane crash near their home. And I'll explain the whole bizarre story inside this video. But first, let me share the tragic story of a man named Dean Warren, and why his nearly dying is what started my crusade to free millions of people from tinnitus. So, like I mentioned, my name is Anthony Romano. I'm an investigative journalist from the small town of Palmer, Alaska. All my life, I've researched for the groundbreaking story that would put my name on the map as a serious reporter. And even though the industry is rotten with thousands of spineless reporters spouting fake news, I've always remained committed to writing the truth and nothing but the truth. And I knew it wouldn't be long before I wrote a career-changing news piece that would solidify my name in the books forever. What I didn't know, however, was that the biggest story of my life would have anything to do with tinnitus. You see, before I met Dean Warren, the old veteran whose tinnitus caused him to get mugged by punk thugs, I never really encountered anyone with a tinnitus problem, and I certainly never had it myself. But within a few short weeks of working on Dean's story, my whole world changed in the blink of an eye when my plane crash landed in the Arctic North, and I was left temporarily deaf and stricken with tinnitus. Then I knew firsthand just how terrible the illness was, and understood exactly what folks like Dean and you were dealing with on a daily basis. I'll tell you what came out of that whole bizarre, strange circumstance, and how in the most unexpected way I was shown the secret to beating tinnitus. But first, let me tell you about the day I met Dean Warren, a day I'll never forget. When Dean got mugged on the side of the road that night, I was the one who unexpectedly stumbled upon his body. I knew I was doing a good thing by calling an ambulance and saving him. But I also knew as a reporter, his mugging could make a great cover story for our Friday edition of the paper. It was possible that the thugs who did this were illegal immigrants, as the city had seen an unusual amount of crime recently from folks coming up south. A story like this could go national, putting my name on the map. So I told my crew I'd interview Dean and get details of the crime firsthand. When I went down to the hospital, thinking Dean would be happy to see me, since I did save his life after all. But the moment I walked into the room, I could tell Dean was in no mood for visitors. "So you're the superhero who came to my rescue," he growled at me. And from there, he had nothing but steaming curse words for me. He was angry that I had saved his life, saying that he wanted to die there, and I had no right getting in the way of God. I was going to walk out of there and tell my boss we were dealing with a lunatic, but the hard-boiled journalist in me knew I couldn't just turn away from a story so easily. So I kept working at him, and eventually he started telling me about his life. It didn't take long for me to realize that Dean was a very sick, depressed man, and it was all because of his tinnitus. Apparently, Dean had been shot in the head fighting in Vietnam, and the hit left him deaf in one ear and permanently stricken with tinnitus. So, for the last 50 years, he's heard nothing but ear-splitting ringing that has literally been driving him insane. I felt terrible for Dean. I didn't know tinnitus could cause a person so much harm, but Dean had lost everything to it. It took away his energy, his memory, his health, his independence, his sanity, even his family. Dean wouldn't mention his family members, even though when I found his abandoned wallet at the crime scene, I clearly remembered seeing a family portrait. It had been rough living with this illness all on his own, and when I left that day, I couldn't help but feel for the poor guy and his tinnitus. Well, I worked all night on the story, and when my boss saw it the next day, he wanted even grittier details of Dean's war days. So he sent me back to the hospital to get more information out of him. When I got there, though, Dean had checked himself out, but left a note telling me where to find him. When I pulled up to his house, Dean was in his garage, rummaging through old boxes. He didn't hear me as I approached, and I scared the life out of him, causing him to wield a log poker at my face in fear. "Goddamned hearing aids don't work for nothing," he cursed. Then he grabbed his head in agony from the tinnitus. "Tinnitus acting up again?" I said, reaching out to help him. But he shook me off. "I don't need your help, I'm fine. Goddamned evil ringing in my head makes you want to just kill something." I asked him if I can talk to him more about his war stories to help make the news piece stronger. He said to make it quick, and he invited me inside his home. Walking in, I noticed on Dean's kitchen counter a mountain of prescription pills. I couldn't help but say something to him about all his medication. "You're pretty sick, huh, Dean?" I asked. "In all my life, I've never known a day without suffering," he moaned. "I'm deaf, got bad tinnitus, terrible vertigo, arthritis in both my knees, plus a bad heart. But the worst is the tinnitus. The ringing makes you crazy. No one can hear it besides you, which also makes you feel crazy." "What are you taking for your tinnitus, if I might ask?" "Psh, those quacks tried to give me antidepressants for my tinnitus, but I know what they put in those happy pills. You won't catch me becoming the next big pharma junkie. And check this. You look at the side effects for antidepressants, and what's the first thing on the list? Tinnitus. Real awesome healthcare system we've got going on here," he said bitterly. Antidepressants for tinnitus relief. Something about that sounded really odd, I thought to myself. And Dean was right about antidepressants. Because a few years back, I'd written a story on the dangers of taking them, and how they come with a whole host of dangerous side effects. "I know I'm prying, but I can't help but think you would be much better off with someone, a loved one, looking after you," I said. A painful silence filled the room as Dean pondered those words, and for a moment, time seemed to stop. Finally, he said in a hoarse voice, "I haven't talked to my kids in 7 years. Not since my wife, Millie, passed. I didn't deal with her loss easily, and you could say I took it out on them. Not proud of it, but a man is only a man." He exhaled sharply, like he'd been holding in that truth for a very long time. "I'm sorry for your loss, Dean," I said to him. "You know, my wife and daughter used to sing together in church. Their voices together were like angels singing in heaven. I'd give anything just to hear their voices again." But as he said this, I watched his face grimace, and again he slapped his hands over his ears in agony. Tinnitus again. It really was a relentless curse. No wonder Dean didn't want to live anymore. His reality was sadder than a lifetime soap opera. He was old, sick, beat up, and alone. He lost his wife. His family didn't want anything to do with him, and he was real bitter about it all, too. But who could blame him? "Dean, you've had a tough day. Maybe I'll come back tomorrow to finish up on this story," I told him. Well, if the good Lord don't finally call me home, I'll be here, waiting to die, he said sadly. When I got home, I started researching tinnitus relief remedies and saw that the drugstore down the street carried an all-natural tinnitus supplement. Apparently, it was rich with flavonoids, which are supposed to be healthy and beneficial for folks with tinnitus. It can help increase blood flow in the ears, which can help clear collapsed nerves or blockages in the ear that cause tinnitus. So I picked up a bottle and brought them along with me the next day when I visited Dean, who seemed gloomier and crankier than ever. When I showed him the tinnitus supplement, he scoffed at me. Man, if I had a nickel for every time all-natural pill I've tried to fight my tinnitus, I'd be richer than Trump. Let me guess, you found it at Whole Foods. Ha, what a bunch of garbage. He hobbled over to the drawer and pulled it open. Inside were dozens of similar tinnitus relief supplements. Even the same exact one I purchased was in there. Tried them all. They don't work. Won't ever work. Can't fix me. What are you doing bringing me this crap anyway? Dean, I was just trying to help, I said. How many times do I have to tell you I don't need saving? I don't want to be saved. And as the last word left his lips, he doubled over in agony from a tinnitus attack. The way he held his head in pain made me think he was getting bombed in Baghdad, and I could only imagine the terrible screeching he was hearing in his head. See, this is why you should let me help you, I exclaimed. Get out of here, just go, Dean hollered at me. Frustrated, I stormed out to my car, fuming out of my ears. But I didn't have long to process the last scene, because my boss gave me a call, telling me to put a freeze on the mugging assignment, and instead, tonight, he was flying me 700 miles north to a city named Barrow to get the lead on a new fluff piece. Now, Barrow, Alaska is the most northern city and point in the United States, and the only way there is through the air. I'm really a scaredy cat when it comes to flying, which is why I was super paranoid about getting into this plane. I was expecting a normal passenger plane, but when I arrived, I found a tiny light aircraft that looked like it came from World War II, and the pilot was so old he looked like he fought in it himself. When I saw he was wearing glasses with lenses thicker than a deck of cards, my gut told me to run for my life and cancel my trip. But the hard-boiled reporter in me didn't want to miss an opportunity to make breaking news. So I mustered up some courage and got on the tiny plane. For about 2.5 hours, we experienced nothing but steady soaring. But just when we were about 30 minutes outside of Barrow, one of the plane's engines began to rumble. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, boom, the engine exploded. The blast nearly knocked me unconscious. And the next thing I knew, we were free falling out of the sky, and I couldn't see a thing. All I could hear was this deafening ringing as we spiraled down and down and down, and then crash! Everything went black. I didn't know how much time had passed, but when I opened my eyes, there was a strange, dark-faced woman hovering over me. She was speaking to me, but I couldn't hear anything she was saying. All I could hear was that intense ringing, like a fire alarm sounding off right in my eardrum. The woman had strange tribal markings on her face, and the next thing I knew, I was being carried off by several women, all with tribal markings and wearing strange furs. And I couldn't tell if I was alive or dead at that point. I didn't know what to believe. They brought me into this igloo-like cave and laid me down on the ground. Everything that happened next is still a mystery. Through my days, I watched the tribal women burn sage, sprinkled dust and powders over me. One even cut the head of a fish off and blotted my body with its blood. I was so scared, shocked, and terrified, but I was completely frozen by this fear, and I couldn't hear a thing, only the ringing, that god-awful ringing. Finally, one of the women brought a cup to the brim of my mouth and forced me to drink. It was bitter and nasty, but I drank it. What choice did I have? The one real detail I remembered, though, sticking out of the cup were these strange golden flowers with cabbage-like petals. It looked so familiar, yet so strange to me at the same time. I had no idea what they were. I just remembered those golden flowers as I drifted out of consciousness. The next thing I knew, I passed out. When I opened my eyes again, I could hear the crackling wood chips of a fire. The awful ringing was gone, and my hearing had come back. No more ringing. I sat up slowly and was surprised to see a woman, the one who found me, sitting there too. Before I could speak, she said, "You're safe here." I was so stunned that she spoke perfect English. I just stared at her for a moment. What happened? Where am I? I asked finally. Your plane crashed about 50 miles outside of Barrow. My name is Nunik, and my tribe, the Inuit, heard you crash and saved you and your pilot. My pilot? He's all right? He'll survive. You, on the other hand, gave us a scare. I thought you went brain dead, but the crash must have deafened you. I tried talking to you, but it was clear you had the devil's scream haunting you. The devil's scream? That awful ringing? Yes, that. But you should be all better now, she said, handing me a small gourd with an animal skin over it. I peeked inside and saw those golden flowers again. What is this? Did you use this to heal me? Yes. Keep taking it till you finish it. It'll keep the devil's scream away. Then, suddenly, another woman walked in, speaking to Nunique in a language I couldn't understand. That's when Nunique said to me, "Come, it's time for you to go." Go? Go where? What's happening? I asked. My tribe. We contacted the city about your plane. A caravan will pick you up 2 miles from here. Nunique then ran out of the igloo and let out a loud whistle. The sound of dogs and chains followed. And as we joined Nunique outside of the igloo, I saw they prepared a dog sled for me and my pilot. The woman guided my pilot and me onto the sleds, where they strapped us in like cargo. My sisters will take you to the caravan. You'll be home soon, Nunique said. Do your sisters speak English like you? I asked. No, I am the sole translator for our tribe, but they'll protect you. You can trust them. Nunique, you've done so much for us already. I'd hate to ask you, but I really need to know what's in this potion. Don't worry, it's nothing but healing plants. It's safe for you to take it. Now take care. It's time to go. She backed away from us and signaled to her tribe, and just like that, we were off. The dog sprinted through the frozen tundra, weaving around trees and rocks. The cold air turned my cheeks to ice as we raced towards the caravan. The whole time I kept the potion clutched to my chest, afraid to lose a single drop of this magic elixir. When we arrived at the meetup spot, I decided I needed to make a last-ditch effort to find out about the potion. I searched my jacket pocket, and luckily, I still had my pen and a business card, like any good journalist would. On the back of the card, I wrote the note, "Please tell me what's inside the potion. It's for a sick friend." Then I walked up to one of the sisters. "Nunique," I said as I handed the card to her, staring into her eyes, hoping she'd understand to give it to her sister. The woman nodded at me, and then with her dog sled, she disappeared back into the wild. I never saw them again. Next, the caravan took us to a nearby hospital to get checked out. I was worried about my hearing, so I asked the doctor to check it out. But I was shocked when he said my ears looked completely fine. I told him about the explosion, how it was right near my head, but he said I must have been one lucky guy because my ears were healthy. In fact, overall, my health was surprisingly stable. My blood pressure was better than normal. All my vital signs were great, and he couldn't find a bruise on me. He also said I seemed surprisingly calm given all the craziness that had happened to me, and I had to admit he was right. I didn't feel nervous, jittery, worried at all really. I thought maybe I was in shock, but then there was that potion again. Something powerful must have been in it. Well, after getting a clean bill of health from the doctor, I was able to catch a flight with a normal airline back home to Palmer. And would you believe it? Even though I had just been in a terrifying crash, and all my life I've been petrified of flying, I felt extremely calm from liftoff to landing, optimistic even, and I actually wasn't even focused on the flight at all. Instead, I was plotting how I was going to find out what was in Nunique's potion. I knew it was a long shot that Nunique would ever contact me and share the formula. So I started thinking like a journalist, and I decided I would reach out to one of my contacts at a health lab in Anchorage, and hopefully they could test the potion and find out the ingredients inside. Then, once I knew the ingredients and researched their effects on tinnitus, I would share it with Dean. Even though Nunique told me it was nothing but a few plants, I wanted to make sure that they were really safe for Dean to take. Because his tinnitus was so bad, and with all of his other health complications, I didn't want to give him something that would make things worse. Once home, I immediately got a hold of my scientist connection in Anchorage. He told me to send a vial of the potion, and that he'd get back to me in 7 days with the results. With a whole week of waiting on my hands, I decided to keep digging and do a little bit of investigative work on those golden flowers that were in the potion. I took a picture of them in the potion and uploaded them to my computer and searched the image on the internet. After scrolling through a couple of duds, I was shocked to come across an exact photo of those flowers. I clicked on the link, and it led me to the Wikipedia page for a plant called Rhodiola rosea. I started getting goosebumps as I read about this mysterious plant. Turns out, Rhodiola rosea is one tough plant. It naturally grows in the coldest parts of the earth, including northern Alaska. Some people call it Arctic root or golden root. And tribal nations, like the Inuit, have been using rhodiola for centuries for a number of health benefits, like lowering blood pressure, fighting aging, decreasing cortisol levels, burning belly fat, improving sleep, and even boosting memory. But I was completely shocked to find out that rhodiola helps with tinnitus in a very interesting way. Rhodiola gets to the root cause of your tinnitus pain by healing your tinnitus on a neurological level. Let me quickly explain. You see, through my research, I discovered that unlike what I thought originally, tinnitus is not an issue with your ear, but a problem in the brain. When tinnitus is first triggered, whether by a loud noise, infection, or aging, it causes a short-circuiting in the auditory pathways in the brain. And auditory pathways are just a fancy way of describing the connection between your brain and your ears. The damage results in the ringing, whooshing, or buzzing sounds you hear when you suffer from tinnitus, and as long as those auditory pathways in the brain remain damaged, your tinnitus will get worse and worse and never go away. Now, rhodiola is really interesting because it can heal those damaged auditory pathways in the brain by boosting your production of dopamine, an important neurotransmitter that helps relay messages to and from your brain. Dopamine helps your brain process sounds and turn them into language via those auditory pathways I mentioned, which is why scientists now believe that when you boost neurotransmitters like dopamine, it can be the key to restoring your hearing and even beating your tinnitus. So, if rhodiola could boost dopamine and heal the damaged auditory pathways in the brain that cause tinnitus, then maybe rhodiola could be effective at stopping the illness once and for all. And it would explain why Nunique used it to help me after the crash. Now, the research got me pretty excited, but I still wasn't sure if rhodiola was 100% the ingredient inside of Nunique's potion. So I needed to wait for the results from the lab before I drew any conclusions on this tinnitus healing remedy. Well, those 7 days went by slower than molasses. But finally, after a week of anxiously pacing back and forth, I got the call from the lab I was waiting for. I almost dropped the phone in shock when he told me that rhodiola was in fact the main ingredient in Nunique's potion. But that was only the first surprise. Little did I know, the lab detected over 20 substances inside of the tinnitus potion. Identifying all of them would take more time and lots of money that I didn't have. But they did me a favor by identifying 3 other ingredients inside of the mixture. 3 ingredients that I soon discovered through my research were just as effective as rhodiola at boosting dopamine, healing the auditory pathways of the brain, and wiping out tinnitus completely. I was beyond excited when I found out just how powerful these ingredients were. For instance, the first ingredient, passion flower, has a number of health benefits. And in a recent clinical trial published in the International Journal of Biomedical Science, scientists proved that passion flower significantly increased dopamine, which again is the chemical in the brain responsible for regulating our hearing. The second ingredient, Mucuna pruriens, has been used in native medicine as an anti-anxiety aid, and there are a number of studies proving its positive effects on boosting dopamine, including a study by the Journal of Traditional Complementary Medicine, which showed that all parts of Mucuna pruriens is medical due to its extremely high amounts of L-dopamine, and that this plant could help heal the auditory pathways in the brain that have been damaged by tinnitus. The study also concluded that the L-dopamine present in Mucuna pruriens gives it anti-diabetic, anti-inflammatory, neuroprotective, and antioxidant properties, which is great news for people like Dean, who suffer from multiple health issues along with tinnitus. Finally, the third ingredient, lemon balm, really blew me away. Not only does lemon balm significantly increase dopamine levels, which, you remember, is linked to reversing tinnitus and making the ringing go away, lemon balm is also a natural antioxidant that can fight oxidative stress, inflammation, and toxicity from medications that worsen tinnitus pain. At this point, I realized I was onto something big with Nunique's potion, even though I only knew a handful of ingredients. All 4 that I researched had scientific proof they could potentially reverse the effects of tinnitus by naturally increasing dopamine, which heals the auditory pathways of the brain, to wipe out tinnitus, put a stop to the ringing, and finally, give people their lives back. Given everything I had researched, I felt I had enough proof to go ahead and bring this potion to Dean, and to see if it could help end his tinnitus nightmare once and for all. Well, Dean wasn't exactly thrilled to see my face when I showed up at his front door the next day. But after I told him about the crash, Nunique's tribe, and the potion, he perked up and wanted to try it too. While I was excited to help Dean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a mix of emotions on the inside. I wasn't sure if this potion would be strong enough to heal Dean's tinnitus since he'd been suffering for decades. And I also didn't know all of the ingredients in the mixture, so some of them could be harmful to Dean. I was taking a huge risk that could very well go south for him. So I needed to be very careful and mindful of Dean throughout this testing phase. Over the next couple of weeks, I shared the potion with Dean and monitored his progress. We decided that in order to test the effectiveness of the potion, we would do a tinnitus pain scale of 1 to 5 every day, with 1 being no pain and 5 being put me out of my misery. If Dean's tinnitus pain levels steadily decreased and stayed lower over the next several days, then I would know that his tinnitus was improving. and that the rhodiola mixture was working. Well, for the first couple of days, we didn't see any real improvement. Dean was still bothered by constant, agonizing ringing with his pain scale up at 5. Plus, he was suffering with severe tinnitus attacks multiple times a day, which was discouraging to say the least. Dean also hated the way the potion tasted, saying it was like drinking dirt water. And just 3 days in, I could tell that he was starting to feel like this whole thing was a load of BS. I felt bad, like I had given Dean false hope about defeating his tinnitus. Maybe Nunique's potion worked on me because I was younger and healthier. Or maybe it never worked at all. And what happened to me in that crash couldn't be explained. I even thought about throwing in the towel and stopping Dean's herbal treatment altogether and putting an end to his emotional roller coaster. But when I looked at Dean and thought about how much he suffered from this illness, how it robbed him of his health, sanity, and independence, and left him a vulnerable target for violence and crime, I knew I couldn't just give up on him. This little voice in my head said, keep going, and thank God that I listened. Because on the 5th day, things started to slowly change for Dean. Dean called me that afternoon saying that his tinnitus pain was a 4 that day, that the ringing had turned down a couple of notches, and for the first time in years, it wasn't so loud he couldn't think. This was great news. A little improvement was better than nothing, but we had to be careful not to get too excited. I warned Dean that he might be experiencing a placebo effect, and that we would need to keep checking his progress daily to be sure that Nunique's potion worked. Well, 3 days later, Dean's tinnitus pain scale dropped to a 3, and his symptoms kept on improving. He said the ringing now sounded like wind chimes in the distance, which was much easier for him to manage. And the best part, he wasn't having any more of those attacks that caused him to double over with pain. Plus, the ringing wasn't the only thing that improved. Dean was sleeping better. His memory was sharper, and he felt more active. And I even noticed he wasn't as cranky all the time. He was laughing, smiling, cracking jokes. He even started talking about visiting his family, something I knew he hadn't done in years. As the weeks continued to pass and Dean got better and better, and the ringing kept disappearing more and more each day, I watched Nunique's potion turn Dean from a cranky, hurting, sick old man to a happy, vibrant, pain-free veteran who was finally experiencing a joyous life without tinnitus. 2 weeks with this herbal treatment, and Dean was a brand new man. His tinnitus pain scale was all the way down to 1, and this tinnitus relief gave Dean a whole new lease on life. But while I was happy for Dean, I couldn't help but worry, because I knew our rhodiola mixture was running out, and I didn't know what we would do when we no longer had this strange herbal potion, or how we'd be able to keep Dean's tinnitus under control. My first hope was that I could just make it myself, but while I knew about 4 of the ingredients in Nunique's potion, I didn't have a clue what the other ones were, and the lab technicians told me there were at least 20 ingredients inside. The only way I was going to know all those ingredients was if I could get my hands on Nunique's recipe as soon as possible. But I checked my email, phone, and mailbox every day, and there was still no word from Nunique. My next thought was, let's just try dosing with the 4 ingredients I knew about: rhodiola, passion flower, mucuna pruriens, and lemon balm. But this turned out to be a waste of time and money. Supplementing with these 4 ingredients alone did nothing for Dean's tinnitus. For the 2 days I took him off of Nunique's potion and tested these 4 supplements on him, his tinnitus pain skyrocketed back to level 5. The ringing came back with a vengeance, and he also suffered headaches and sleeping problems. Once we tested that, we knew for sure the only thing that could wipe out Dean's tinnitus pain for good was Nunique's potion. But time was running out. It had been 3 weeks since the crash, and the potion was down to the last few teaspoons. If we didn't get a miracle soon, Dean would go back to living with tinnitus. He'd go back to being miserable, sad, suicidal, and hopeless, haunted by a devilish ringing that never quit. All I could do was pray, and hope Nunique found it in her heart to help me one last time. Well, God must have been listening to my prayers, because 3 days later, when I logged into my email account, the first thing I saw was a message from Nunique. My jaw nearly hit the floor when I saw her name in my inbox. Greetings from the North Pole. Anthony, I'm so sorry for the delayed response. My sister shared your business card with me, but it's not often I get a chance to write an email from a computer, given how far up north we live and how much we travel. I'm settled in a town for a few days, so I decided to write. I'm sorry for your friend who is suffering from the devil's scream. This will help him as it helped you. The main ingredient, rhodiola, is a native to Alaska, and our tribe knows where it grows. It takes 25 years to mature in the wild, so be careful where you get it from. The source may be impure or immature. The rest of the ingredients are listed below. Make sure you use organic forms of each. Take care, and I wish the best for you. Words couldn't describe how happy I was to receive her email. It couldn't have come at a better time. But when I took a look at the ingredient list, rhodiola, passion flower, mucuna pruriens, and lemon balm were there, but so were a bunch of other exciting ingredients. Ingredients that I would soon learn have been proven to boost dopamine and other important neurotransmitters, to help heal the auditory pathways of the brain, and to help beat tinnitus. These ingredients were also all natural. Some of them could even be found growing right outside your front door, and I was shocked by how amazing each ingredient was. Like ashwagandha, which has been used in Ayurvedic medicine for centuries and is a go-to herb for tinnitus sufferers in Eastern cultures, and skullcap, which has been clinically proven to heal damaged auditory nerves and neurons that have been overstressed as a result of tinnitus. And there's also magnolia, which acts as a neuroprotectant to the brain and its auditory pathways. Magnolia is also a powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant that keeps your body safe from oxidative stress, which is important for tinnitus sufferers. The formula also included oat straw and St. John's wort for even higher levels of dopamine, which rebuilds your damaged auditory pathways, and valerian root, hops, and brahmi, which have all been proven to fight the anxiety, insomnia, and depression caused by tinnitus. I could hardly believe it. All 20 ingredients combined had clinical proof to help fight the symptoms and root cause of tinnitus. But that's not all. They also helped improve mood, boost energy, improve sleep, increase libido, fight aging, improve heart health, and so much more. Now that I had all in 20 ingredients, I was ready to make the potion myself. I began sourcing the most organic and bioavailable forms of each ingredient, and I was lucky to find a rhodiola grower local to Alaska to help us. Next, I reached out to a local lab to help with transforming the formula into easy-to-swallow pills, so taking Unique's remedy could be a hassle-free and convenient. It took months and months to find all of the ingredients, not to mention tons of cash that I had to loan out from the bank. But no matter the time or costs, I was committed to creating this tinnitus solution. Finally, after nearly 6 months of working on it, I settled on a product that Dean and everyone all loved. When Dean began taking it, I was incredibly relieved to see that his tinnitus continued to improve and improve, even better than the first time. The ringing disappeared little by little each day, and the impact it made on Dean's life was huge. He was friendly with everyone he met because he was no longer tormented by the devil's scream. He even started volunteering with a veterans program to help our war heroes transition to civilian life after combat. Dean was a new man who felt he had a second chance at life now that his tinnitus trouble had vanished. No more ringing, buzzing, aching headaches, or tinnitus attacks. Dean was tinnitus free, completely healed, and he was never going back, all thanks to this miracle solution. Dean was feeling so great about his newly found tinnitus freedom that he even called his daughter Melissa and invited her to come sing at our neighborhood church. Dean's daughter was so surprised and happy to be reunited with her father. It brought tears to my eyes to see them together. And when she sang for the church, wow, I knew exactly what Dean was talking about when he said she sung like an angel. The whole church could feel the love in her spirit as Melissa sang for her father, who was hearing his daughter's heavenly voice for the first time in decades. I knew I had done a good thing for Dean and his family. Plus, everyone at the church, heck, folks around the town, they were all thrilled to see Dean doing better, and they wanted to know how they could heal themselves too with our miracle potion. Dean was so proud to say, "My friend Anthony helped me. He saved my life twice now." And pretty soon, I was sharing batches of my formula with folks all over the neighborhood, both young and old, who wanted to get rid of their mild to severe tinnitus and were fed up with relying on Big Pharma's addictive pills. It wasn't long before I started getting phone calls and emails from people I didn't even know, all asking how they could get their hands on my solution. That's when I realized that the whole world deserved to know Dean's story and to know about this amazing natural tinnitus relief remedy that begins healing your tinnitus within a matter of days, using nothing but a handful of plants and herbs that have been scientifically proven to fight tinnitus on a neurological level. I understood that while I had originally set out to write a sob story about Dean, instead, this was a story about heroes, Dean's braveness, Nunique's kindness, and my determination to help end tinnitus once and for all. If the whole world saw this story, then it could help millions of people who are also suffering from tinnitus. I thought it was the perfect way to share our discovery, but when I pitched the story to my boss, he wanted no part in it, saying that a story like this would put a red target on his back, and Big Pharma would come after us. A solution this powerful, he said, would be in direct competition with them, and he wasn't about to lose his life to the drug company cartels. I tried to explain that this would be our big break, the story we needed to go national, but he wouldn't hear a word of it. I thought to myself, wow, if my skinflint boss, a man who'd sell out his own mother for a cover story, wouldn't run this piece, then I knew I was onto something big with this formula. And I decided if the newspaper didn't want to run my story, then I would have to take matters into my own hands and create this presentation telling Dean's tinnitus horror story from start to finish, and how in a strange turn of events I was able to find the solution to a lifetime of torture. I packaged up my formula so it could be sent all over the nation and reached people far and wide who are ready to end their ringing nightmare for good. I've put all my hard work, blood, sweat, and tears into this message, so you and folks just like you can be healed finally of their tinnitus and win back their lives. I call this formula Tinnitec because it naturally and quickly soothes away tinnitus ringing, giving you relief that lasts. And every bottle of Tinnitec contains highly optimized forms of the 20 ingredients inside of Nunique's amazing tinnitus relief formula, including pure rhodiola extract, ashwagandha, lemon balm, skullcap, hawthorn, chamomile, magnolia, passion flower, valerian, St. John's wort, hops, griffonia seed extract, brahmi, oat straw, mucuna pruriens, plus 5 nutrient-rich extracts that take your tinnitus healing to a whole new level, including bilberry extract, which is rich with lutein, a powerful neuroprotectant for the auditory pathways of your brain, pu'er tea extract, which is filled with GABA, another essential neurotransmitter, like dopamine, that's linked to muting tinnitus. Green tea extract, rich with amino acid, L-theanine, which also helps boost neurotransmitter function. Raw cacao extract, it's loaded with tons of zinc, calcium, and magnesium, which increases the bioavailability of each ingredient. Green lentil extract has a great source of B vitamins, like biotin and potassium, which are helpful for tinnitus relief. Each ingredient on its own has been scientifically proven to boost dopamine production and heal the auditory pathways of the brain. And when combined together, these 20 ingredients give you the ultimate defense against tinnitus and its debilitating symptoms. No matter if you just suffer from the occasional ringing or experience chronic agony, and you want to fight tinnitus and hearing loss related issues without the need of any pills or prescriptions from your doctor, you should know that Tinnitec is manufactured right here in the U.S. in a facility that follows all GMP guidelines. And we also have each batch tested by an independent third-party laboratory to ensure that what's on the label is really inside each bottle. So when you add up the facts, it should be pretty clear why we believe Tinnitec is the most high-quality and effective tinnitus relief solution available today. With our all-natural, bioavailable ingredients, Tinnitec is unmatched in its ability to boost dopamine and heal auditory neurons in the brain, stop the ringing, whooshing, buzzing, and other chronic tinnitus symptoms, fight inflammation and oxidative stress, rebuild and protect stressed neurons and nerves, improve mood, mental clarity, and memory, and so much more. And our highly advanced tinnitus relief formula is full of natural antioxidants, which can protect you from long-term health risks and dangerous free radicals too. In fact, within just a few short weeks of taking Tinnitec, you could feel like you've been given a new lease on life. Imagine if you could wake up without the constant ringing in your head. Imagine not being bogged down by depression and exhaustion from your tinnitus terrors, or finally feeling free from the trap of addictive prescription pills. Imagine the devil scream disappearing from your life forever, feeling healthier, more energized, and more alert than ever before. Now, stop imagining, because those are exactly the kind of things people who use Tinnitec report. Just like Greg Dunn in Chicago, Illinois. He says, I'd seen tinnitus supplements marketed online before, but I was skeptical. Most of the websites didn't seem legit, and I felt like I couldn't trust the companies. But after watching your presentation and seeing all of the science behind Tinnitec, I decided to give your product a try. Let me just tell you, it's been an exciting adventure. Within a few weeks, the ringing just disappeared. Plus, the ingredients feel so clean and natural, I don't have any jitters or anxiety. Tinnitec is now part of my daily regimen. And Felicia Thompson in Daytona Beach, Florida. She says, I was so tired of the medication merry-go-round. My doctor put my husband Joe on antidepressants when his tinnitus got worse. We later found out it was his heart medication that was worsening his tinnitus symptoms. Joe wasn't even acting like himself anymore, which was depressing to watch. Tinnitec has been such a tremendous blessing. The improvement Joe has made in just a few short months is fantastic. The ringing is gone, and we're off the antidepressants. He even picked up his old guitar and started playing. That's something I thought he'd never be able to do again. Thank you, Tinnitec, for giving me hope that I could have my husband back. So now, let me share exactly how you can join Greg and Felicia and the more than 18,340 people across the country who are using Tinnitec every day, and who report that they've never experienced more tinnitus relief than when using this breakthrough formula. The normal price of Tinnitec is $149. And while I know that might sound pretty steep, you need to remember that there's really nothing else like Tinnitec available on the market today. The vast majority of tinnitus supplements you see for sale online and at health stores are questionable quality at best. Some of them are even manufactured in Mexico, where there's the danger of lead and other poisons creeping in. And, as you've seen, many pharmaceuticals just make problems worse and put you on medication merry-go-round for the rest of your life. Please remember, Rhodiola rosea, the main ingredient inside of Tinnitec, takes 25 years to mature in the wild. And even in cultivation circles, it still takes a full 5 to 6 years for rhodiola to be safe to use. So if you use most rhodiola supplements, it's likely that manufacturers cut corners and your product is weak and useless. Plus, even if you use rhodiola, you still won't have all the other ingredients found in Tinnitec, which are essential to wiping out your tinnitus pain for good. Plus, given that the ingredients inside of Tinnitec have been scientifically proven to boost dopamine, heal your auditory pathways in the brain, eliminate stress and anxiety, and even help with inflammation and oxidation, the chances are high that if you begin using Tinnitec regularly, you will end up cutting $300 a month or more from your healthcare costs. Plus, Tinnitec not only can heal your ringing pains, it comes with a load of side benefits, like lower blood pressure, stronger muscles, improved libido, better memory, and a healthier heart. This means a healthier you and less money spent on prescriptions, doctor visits, and health insurance. So, considering you'll probably save at least $4,360 in annual healthcare costs when you use Tinnitec to conquer your tinnitus and protect your health, I really do think that the $149 is a fair price for tinnitus relief. But while that may be the case, I also know that many folks are on a fixed income or a tight budget, and that $149 is a lot to ask. And so after much back and forth, I've decided to give you a special deal from right inside this presentation. A discount that will let you try out Tinnitec for not $149 or even $97, but instead just $69. That's a savings of $80, but it's still just the start. You see, because so many of our customers end up ordering 6 bottles of Tinnitec at a time so that they remain stocked up on this important tinnitus relief breakthrough, and so they can share it with their significant others, their family members, and their friends, we've created a special multi-bottle discount where you can get Tinnitec for as low as $49 per bottle. To get started right now with your own supply of tinnitus relief, simply click the button you see below this video right now and get started placing your order. I should also mention this 6-bottle package is by far our most popular option because the more you take Tinnitec, the better it'll work for you and the more benefits you'll experience each day. That's why so many of our customers decide to stock up on Tinnitec when there are supplies available. That way, they can feel confident in knowing their tinnitus relief journey won't be interrupted 30 days from now if we run out of stock, which happens a lot because of Tinnitec's incredible popularity, and confident that they'll be able to continue to enjoy the freedom of living without the constant ringing for months and months to come. So go ahead and order your 6-month supply of Tinnitec right now, or whatever amount is right for you, by clicking the button below this video right now. Once you do that, you'll go to our secure and encrypted checkout page, where you'll enter your basic order details. Total, this process takes less than 2 minutes. And the moment you're done, Tinnitec will be out the door and on the way to you. We'll also cover shipping and handling for you, which saves you another $12.99. But the free shipping is only available while there are supplies of Tinnitec in stock. You should also know that your order of Tinnitec is covered by our 6-month 100% money-back guarantee. Here's how it works. Right now, you simply click the button below this video right now and secure your very own supply of Tinnitec. Your order will then arrive in the next 3 to 5 business days. And the moment you get it, I want you to rip open that packaging and start using Tinnitec. I'm incredibly confident that you'll notice a huge difference once you start taking this premium tinnitus relief formula, that you'll feel the ringing decrease day by day until it disappears altogether. And if you change your mind about Tinnitec for any reason in the next 6 months, just call or email our award-winning US-based customer service team, and we will immediately refund your full investment with 0 questions asked. Plus, on top of that, you don't even need to return your order. Tinnitec will be yours to keep as our way of saying thanks. So, in other words, there's absolutely 0 risk or reason for hesitation here today. You have a full 180 days to see if Tinnitec is for you, and if you change your mind, you don't pay a dime. But if you're ready to take advantage of this life-changing offer, you do need to act fast, because when you act today, a portion of our proceeds will go to the Wounded Warrior Project, which has helped thousands of veterans who have been permanently injured in the line of duty. The project has been going on for 15 years and counting, and it helps many veterans, just like Dean, who are suffering. When you click that button below this video, you're not just saving your life, but helping to save the lives of thousands of war heroes who make the ultimate sacrifice for us every day on the battlefield. So go ahead and choose the offer below that works best for you, and begin your journey to ring-free living as soon as today. There's no time to waste. In addition to only having a limited discounted supply available, we're also under constant fire from Big Pharma and Big Government, given that Tinnitec helps people to restore their hearing and beat chronic tinnitus without taking any pills, using addictive substances or prescriptions, and that you don't need to pay for expensive doctor's visits or exams. The $100 billion tinnitus industry can't stand what we're doing. As a result, we're under constant harassment from their lawyers, and I simply cannot guarantee how long this offer will remain online. So go ahead and order your very own supply of Tinnitec right now by clicking the button below right away. You'll be saving up to $100 per bottle when you make that decision, getting shipping and handling for free, a $12.99 saving, and you'll be protected by that 180-day, 100% money-back guarantee. That's one heck of a deal, 100% risk-free. But this presentation is ending, so this is your last chance. You've seen the science behind Tinnitec and its dopamine-boosting powers, and how using all natural ingredients can help restore the auditory pathways of the brain upon the very first dose. You've seen how all 20 ingredients inside of Tinnitec have been linked to muting tinnitus, less ringing, improved mood, better focus, and even anti-inflammatory benefits, and how the antioxidant fighting power of Tinnitec can change your life. So whether you want to slow the effects of tinnitus or simply want to protect yourself from age-related hearing loss issues, Tinnitec is the answer you've been looking for. Ultimately, the choice is yours, but I hope you'll make the smart decision by clicking the button below and trying your own risk-free supply of Tinnitec today. Sincerely, Anthony Romano. Hey, are you still here? No problem. I know that was a lot to take in, and maybe there's something on your mind still. So to help you out, let me go ahead and answer some of the most common questions folks ask. That way, you can make your investment in Tinnitec today with total confidence. 1. Who is Tinnitec for? Tinnitec is a highly optimized tinnitus relief formula that uses the power of rhodiola rosea along with 19 other natural ingredients to mute the effects of tinnitus on a neurological level. But it's not just people who are suffering from severe tinnitus who can benefit from tinnitus relief. This breakthrough is for anyone suffering from any type of hearing loss or auditory issues, people who need a sharper memory, less anxiety, and better focus, or anyone who wants to live their most productive, happy life possible. 2. What makes Tinnitec different from all those other tinnitus supplements I see advertised? Tinnitec is made with 20 essential ingredients that rebuild auditory pathways in the brain by increasing dopamine. Dopamine is an essential amino acid that scientists have linked to quieting tinnitus. Plus, our all-natural ingredients are packed with beneficial amino acids, antioxidants, anti-inflammatories that defend and protect your auditory health. These 20 ingredients are non-synthetic, which means they aren't made with fillers and harmful chemicals that are found in prescription drugs. Additionally, Tinnitec is manufactured in a GMP certified facility that follows all FDA guidelines. And each batch is independently tested by a third-party laboratory, which ensures that what you see on the label is what you get inside each bottle. 3. How long will this offer be available for? That's a good question, but the answer is complicated. For one thing, because the costs to source our all-natural ingredients are quite high, we only have limited amounts of discounted supply in stock. Remember, normally, Tinnitec is $149 a bottle, but through this webpage, you can get it for just $69 per bottle while supplies last, and just $49 when you stock up today. Besides supplies being limited, however, there's also the threat that Big Pharma's multi-million-dollar lawyers shut us down. We'll certainly fight them as long as we can. But given that Tinnitec can help fight severe tinnitus, not just mask the symptoms, both the tinnitus supplement industry and Big Pharma are desperate to get this presentation removed from the internet fast. 4. What can you tell me about the guarantee again? As I mentioned, it's a full 6-month, 100% money-back guarantee. This means if you change your mind about your investment for any reason in the next 180 days, just call or email our award-winning US-based customer service team, and we'll immediately refund your investment with 0 questions asked. In other words, there's no risk whatsoever. 5. Okay, I'm ready to order, but what do I need to do? Simply click the button at the bottom of this presentation. You'll then go to our secure order page, where you'll enter your shipping details. Then, in 3 to 5 business days, Tinnitec will be at your front door. Shipping and handling are 100% free, which is a $12.99 savings. But remember, there are only limited supplies of Tinnitec available at any given time, which means if you put this off, it could be months until you have another chance to experience Tinnitec for yourself. So go ahead and order Tinnitec now at this huge savings. And we look forward to hearing about your experience with this premium tinnitus relief supplement.